The holidays will soon be upon us, and whether you plan on hitting the stores or doing your shopping online, our next guest says it's important to protect your information in any kind of transaction. Joining me now is Howard Schwartz, the Executive Communications Director at Connecticut's Better Business Bureau. Nice to have you back here, Howard.
Always a pleasure, Teresa.
So Christmas shopping, holiday shopping, it's right around the corner. And what type of trends are we seeing this year?
We're seeing some encouraging forecasts. The National Retail Federation, which tracks these sorts of numbers, says that consumer confidence in the economy has continued to grow, not as fast as in past years, but between 2008 and now, and they expect it to continue. So we also see a tremendous number of people going to online shopping. The NRF says, for example, 56% of us are going to be spending at least some of our money for decorations, food, and gifts online. And the people who will be going online will actually be spending 16% more than those of us that go to brick and mortar
Why is that?
stores.
Are there more distractions when you're on a website? Different ads to click on?
Different ads to click on, but I think it's also people still want to have the convenience of not having to spend money on gas, being able to compare prices. That's always going to be valuable. And as we know, the online parts of stores are building, and they know that it's not just customer service. How quickly can you get it there? How convenient is it for the shopper?
Is it any less safe to be shopping online versus going to the store?
No, not really. If you're online and you're practicing certain behaviors, you should be just as safe and perhaps in some cases safer. You want to do a few things. For example, if you're on an auction site like eBay, make sure you're dealing with a seller who's got a good reputation. If somebody tries to take the transaction away from the eBay site, don't go for it, because they'll try and lead you by email to do an interaction. They might ask for money by wire transfer or something unsecured like that. So you should be using a credit card preferably, or an online payment system such as PayPal.
Not the debit card.
Not the debit card, because if there's a data breach or if there's some other fraud involving your card, you do not get that same protection as you would with a credit card. That money comes right out of your bank account, and then you won't have the cash necessary to pay bills or do more holiday shopping.
But it's alarming, though, because we saw it in Target, we saw it in Home Depot, the data breaches. How do you think we're going to stop those eventually?
Well, credit card companies are rolling out more secure versions of credit cards with electronic chips in them. That'll be fine to prevent the sort of crimes that involve copying somebody's card. That won't stop the data breaches. So what the security experts are looking at now is taking our credit card numbers and not storing them with all of our personal information in their computers. They'll create what's called a token, which is simply a numerical representation of your credit card, so that if a hacker breaks in, they'll just get a bunch of gibberish that they won't be able to do anything with.
There you go, and it won't work. All right, so let's talk about some safety tips for online shopping. You mentioned the first one, when you're on the browser, HTTPS, the beginning of the address there, look for the S.
Correct. The S stands for secure. You'll see a little padlock as well. And what that means is the site is taking the necessary steps to protect your information between your computer and their website.
We already said use the credit card versus the debit card. Use a PayPal account if you had one. Classified ads, you say, can be a little bit risky.
They can, because it's a face-to-face transaction. In general, they'll take a check or cash, rarely take a credit card, and in such a case, you might be walking away with something could be stolen. You might be walking away with a knockoff, and there are also personal risks if you're not careful. We're not saying don't use classified ads. We're saying be very, very careful when you do.
We're talking like a Craigslist. Would that be kind of classified?
As a good example.
Yep. Okay. Check manufacturer's website for hints or spot knockoffs.
A lot of knockoffs, and if you see, well, on the higher end stuff, but you can actually go to the manufacturer's websites and find out about the stitching, if it's clothing, for example, or a handbag, to find out what it should look like. And if the price is ridiculously low, there's a question to ask. And something else, and that is, if you see a really low price and you're comparison shopping, don't forget to take into account the shipping and handling costs, because sometimes that can push the price up beyond what competitors are offering.
You know, that's one thing online. I won't do it unless I find a coupon for free shipping. I mean, and they're pretty readily available if you do a little searching.
They are. Make sure you're on a legitimate site for coupons, because there's coupon fraud too. But, you know, let's not all get frightened. We can't put our heads in the sand. Have some fun. Just make sure that you're safe, that you go to the right websites and you do it the right way.
And there's actually some comparison shopping you could do online. I know that I use a website called My Simon. If I'm looking for the product, they'll put it in and they'll give you all the websites and the different prices.
And that's a good point. And that's where you're going to want to go. If you see one that's very much lower than the others, find out what the shipping and handling costs are.
Very good. So Black Friday shopping, let's talk a minute about that. You see these great deals. Is it worth waiting in the lines for this?
That's an interesting question. It depends. If it's last year's stock or something that's out of season, you can get tremendous deals like that. Waiting in lines, that depends on what your stomach is for that type of thing.
That's true.
In some cases, they may actually clear out some of the inventory a few days later because they want to get ready for the season in December.
All right, and the big question here, Howard, have you started your Christmas shopping?
I plead the fifth. I will shortly, I promise.
We have time. We have about 50 days, so we're good. Howard, thank you so much for being here.